Hi my loves, welcome back to our channel. Welcome if you guys are new. Welcome back to Bookmas. I hope you guys are enjoying so far. We are a few days deep into Bookmas now. Personally, this time of the year is my favorite time of the year to be creating book content because we are at the end of the year, which means we can basically wrap everything up. We can go through the favorite books of the year, we can go through setting new goals for the new year, new reading goals, and today is one of my favorite videos to film, and that is 26 books for 2026. So 26 books I really want to get to in the year of 2026. I did this last year. I did tick so many off my list, and it's a new year. We're going to set these new goals, hopefully get to a lot of these books. I feel like this year I have gotten a lot better to sticking to my TBR, to getting to the books I actually want to read. Mood reading, of course, still, but prioritizing certain books over other books. And I said this in my last video, I think, as well, but I really want to start prioritizing series. I want to be finishing the series I am in the middle of, and when I start new series, I want to try and finish them as quickly as I can. I'm a big series girl. I love a good fantasy series, so we do have a few new series I would love to start in the new year. But yeah, without further ado, I thought we should jump into the 26 books I want to read in 2026. I have my computer here with the list, so if you see me looking down, that is what I am looking at. Okay, the first book I want to read in 2026, you guys would have seen this in my recent book shopping vlog. I would love to start and honestly finish the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. The first book is Jade City, so of course we'll just kind of put this one. But when I talk about Jade City, I'm hoping if I love the series, I can just finish the series. I have heard such incredible things about this series. It is an urban fantasy. I'm going to read the back because I feel like it describes it a lot better than I could. It says, Jade is the lifeblood of the city of Janloon, a stone that enhances a warrior's natural strength and speed. It is mined, traded, stolen, and killed for, all controlled by two families equal in their power and ruthlessness. When a modern drug emerges that allows anyone, even foreigners, to wield jade, shimmering tension between the two clans erupts in open war. So it sounds really good. I know that we have two really strong powerhouses of families, and this conflict is basically created. I just haven't heard a single bad review on this book, if I'm going to be completely honest. Everyone I talk to thinks that I'm going to love this book. I just am so excited to dive into this series. I haven't read an urban fantasy series in a while as well, and honestly this was published a little while ago. It was, I think, in 2018, but I feel like those kind of fantasy books, like the slightly older fantasy books, have really been hitting good at the moment. Yeah, I think 2017. They are just super unique, and I feel like they hit like nothing else. I'm absolutely obsessed with them, and I've kind of been working my way through the fantasy series I didn't read in like my teenage years that I could have. Next is a series I'm currently reading, and I actually debated reading this book before the end of the year, but I was like, no, realistically, I already have a lot of long books on my end of year TBR. I don't think I can read this book by the end of the year, and I want to give it my full attention, and that is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. The reason I want to give it my full attention is it's literally like almost as thick as my head. That is crazy. I think we are bordering on 1,400 pages for this book. And this is the third book in the Stormlight archive. Started my Way of Kings journey this year. I started with Way of Kings and I just read Words of Radiance kind of recently. I'm going to read Edge Dancer before the end of the year, which is like a little novella that is recommended to read in between before I go into Oathbringer. I have also heard such incredible things about this book. A lot of you say that your two favorite books in this series are Words of Radiance, which I just read and love, and Oathbringer. So both very good potential reads. I'm super excited for that reason to go on to this one. If you're not familiar with the Way of Kings series, we are set in a wartime basically. We're following this massive conflict that has spanned over like decades, and we're kind of reaching the tipping point at the moment. We are following three different perspectives. We are following Kaladin, who was a soldier turned slave. We are also following Shallan, who is kind of striving to be an academic, even though she comes from a kind of lower class-ish family. And then we are also following Dalinar, who is the brother of the recently passed away king. I love it because we have every kind of perspective. Like, we really have some royal perspectives, some inside source, and then we've got this other outsider's perspective who's trying to break her way into it. And then we've got Kaladin, who's literally living the worst possible life as a slave, but still within this kind of realm. I cannot wait to see what's in store in this one. So yeah, super excited to start this one. The next series I really want to start is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Now this is a duology, I believe. Last year I was introduced to V.E. Schwab. I read her Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, was obsessed with it. I think it is a trilogy that everyone needs to read. And then this year I read The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, and I'm hoping to start Fragile Threads of Power. So at some point in 2026, I would love to just keep working my way through her backlog. I kind of have heard two things about this one. Like, some people really, really love this duology. Some people, it's just not for them. So I don't know where I'm gonna sit on that. I do love V.E. Schwab though, so I do think I will probably love it. V.E. Schwab is just quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. I think this is a YA duology as well. Just the way she writes is so incredibly captivating, yet beautiful and lyrical lyrical, and her characters are just so incredibly immersive and lovable. I did want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa. I'm sure you guys are getting very familiar with Ana Luisa and coming to love them as much as I do. Today I am wearing 3 pieces by Ana Luisa. They are my everyday jewelry, and when I tell you, I get so many compliments on these pieces. The pieces I am wearing today are actually almost matching, which is really exciting. We have these little heart earrings. One of the reasons I love Ana Luisa's pieces so much is that they are super high quality, but really, really durable and backed by a 2-year warranty, whilst being very, very affordable with prices starting at only $39. And when I love a piece, I wear it all the time. Like, I wear it non-stop. So these have definitely been hanging around for a while. I get so many compliments on these because they're so little and dainty, but they really do make a statement. I am also wearing a matching heart necklace, which kind of just brings it together. I love a matching little set for jewelry. If you love layering as well, these are the perfect layering pieces. I will often put these in either my 2nd or 3rd piercings as well, along with some other more statement pieces. Whilst I do layer this necklace as well, it is kind of a statement piece on its own, I think. It is so beautiful and just like eye-catching. I am also wearing one of their bracelets today. I love this bracelet. Look, it is so simple. So simple, yet elevates any outfit that I am wearing. It is basically a watch band, and therefore it looks so classy. It has become a new staple in my collection, and I really didn't see that coming, but now that we are coming into summer, I start to accessorize a little bit more on my wrist. If you've been thinking about shopping Ana Luisa, this is the perfect time because Ana Luisa's holiday sale is now live. They are having up to 25% off site-wide at the moment, but it is for a limited time only. So if you are wanting to treat yourself or maybe get a gift for someone else this holiday season, it is the perfect time. If you do want to shop Ana Luisa, you can do so by using the link in my bio or scanning the QR code on screen. It's also a way to help out this channel, and Ana Luisa have just been such a great support to this channel, so thank you so much. Thank you, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Happy holidays, guys. Treat yourself to something special, and let's continue on with the books that I'm wanting to read in the new year. Okay, this one I'm super excited about because it was just announced, and I do believe this is on my last video, but it has actually been pushed back. So that is The Ballad of Falling Dragons. This is the 2nd book to When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I loved When the Moon Hatched. I thought it was a really great romantasy. It was a really great balance of a romantasy. Honestly, I wouldn't mind doing a reread of it before the next book comes out, but I felt like the balance between politics, plot, action, and romance was so incredibly well done. I find that's really difficult to find these days, so I really appreciated that. But very recently, there was a cover reveal and finally a date set in stone for this release. Originally, this was going to be releasing in like October, November this year, so it should have been out by now, but it was pushed back to I think about February next year, and then it's been pushed back again. So I think the release date is now May 19th, but it's been a long time coming, guys. I've been waiting for this sequel, and I feel like I've been waiting so long that I need to reread When the Moon Hatched. Maybe I'll listen to it on audio this time, so I'm nice and ready going into the next one, because I do feel like there were some little key details that I've probably forgotten. Speaking of really anticipated releases, my next book is Burn of the Everflame. I read the entire Spark of the Everflame series last year, so the first 3 books. The 3rd book is long, like it's 1,000 pages long, and I read it so quickly. I actually read it around this time last year. It doesn't feel like that was a year ago. That's kind of crazy. I want the next book in this series so bad. I have been waiting and waiting. This is another one. The release date just keeps getting pushed back on. It's only just been announced that it's coming out next year. I thought it was going to be coming out this year. I actually thought early this year, but I don't know. Maybe that was me just making things up. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this release. Again, this is a romantasy series. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally absolutely loved it. I know some people do get really annoyed with the main protagonist. I didn't think she was too bad. I don't know, maybe I'm just good at like looking past that. Who I absolutely loved was our male main protagonist. This man is wonderful. One of my favorite male protagonists I have ever read about. Honestly, this magic system and everything is just really fun. Also, the writing, so addictive. This is a really exciting release for me, and I cannot wait to get to it once it finally releases. You will see that a lot of these are new releases because, I don't know, I'm just excited to get to them. However, the next one isn't. The next one is The Poppy War. This is a series that's been intimidating me for a long time now. For a while, I was like, I don't know why it's intimidating me, but I think I do. I think I was just lying to myself. This is intimidating me because I know it deals with really heavy content. I know our content is really intense. We are based off real historical events, and I feel like that in itself, you just have to prepare yourself a little bit more for. This is a high fantasy, I believe. It is a trilogy, and again, I've never heard a bad review on this trilogy. So many people have been trying to beg me to read this for a long time now, and I just keep putting it off because I'm so scared to read it. I know I have to be in the right headspace. I know I am going to be emotionally destroyed over this book, but I have heard the characters are incredible. Really, really complicated characters, morally grey characters, but characters you read about and don't stop thinking about. So of course, that sounds great to me. I just really think think it's time to delve into this trilogy. For a bit of a lighter book, I would love to read The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. This is her newest release. She did release a book this year, but I actually had an arc for that one, so I read that at the end of last year. I did like it, but I was kind of a little bit unsatisfied with it. I more loved that book for the characters and following our characters through these really key moments in their life. Very challenging, life-altering moments, but I wasn't really reading it for the romance, which I feel like was kind of odd because obviously that's like the main plot of this book, so I was kind of a little bit taken out of the romance. I didn't feel the chemistry as strong as I have in some of her other books where they're just like, it's undeniable, it's so good. So I was a little bit disappointed in this one. It was still good. I think I gave it a 3.75 or a 4 stars in the end. I still did really enjoy it. There were some very touching moments. I did cry. So I'm really excited to go with The Night That We Met, which is her newest release. I just trust Abby Jimenez so much when it comes to her new romances. I think she's an incredible writer and I always end up crying in her books. Always end up emotionally attached to her characters and just bawling my eyes out over them. So I'm excited for that to happen again. And honestly, I feel like I've been really picky with romances this year. Next, I wasn't sure whether to put this one on this list, but I decided ultimately to, and that is Light Welder. This is the second book to Metal Slinger. Metal Slinger was just a crazy ending. I feel like it was a little bit too out of nowhere at times, but still my mind was blown in a really good way. And I really want to see where this story goes and if there's going to be little Easter eggs in the first book that come to light in the second book or something like that, if there's some connecting pieces. If you didn't know, Metal Slinger is a fantasy romance and it was actually indie published first before it got picked up by a traditional publisher. So I think that has actually pushed the date back for the second book because we were kind of went through that republishing moment. Now we are getting into the second book. I am just so curious to see where it is going to go. I'm so curious to see where our protagonist goes. If you know this book, you know. The ending just leaves you staring at the wall and trying to like figure out if you missed something to explain that. I did find this a very addictive read though. So I am going to read the second book in this series and I am excited to see where we're going to go. I'm starting to think that I just put a lot of blind trust in people and the books that they recommend because a lot of these I don't know too much about. So I'm going to start trying to find out a little bit more. The next book is Heavenly Bodies. This is another fantasy romance that I feel like has just really overtaken BookTok this year. I've kind of been scared to go into, kind of want to like get into some different romances. I'm hoping it will be a slightly different romance. Doesn't follow the exact same because that was die-bound for me. It felt very predictable. The little blurb is, in a world ruled by the cruel and merciless stars, Elara has been cursed by fate. A prophecy promises she will go far for a star, but that will kill them both. So when Ariette, star of wrath, war and chaos, descends to wreak havoc on Elara's kingdom, she flees her home, the kingdom of night, for the neighboring Helios, kingdom of light. That rhymes. And strides straight into the arms of an enemy prince. Fearing that Ariette might turn his sight to Helios next, Prince Lorenzo is forced to train Elara as a weapon, one worthy of battling against the reign of the stars. But there are shadows even within the kingdom of light, and they threaten to reveal the darkness in Lorenzo's past and the ancient magic that slumbers in Elara's veins. It sounds really interesting. I do really like the whole like celestial element of this magic system and the world that is set in. I'm a sucker for like star signs and astrology and everything like that. So incorporating that into a magic system could be really cool. And that is what draws me in most about this book. Again, one will have to see if it lives up to the hype in my perspective. But if you've read it, please let me know what you think. And if you have similar taste to me, if you loved it. The next book is Fifth Season by N.K. Jensen. People have been wanting me to read this fantasy book for a while now. Again, I don't know too much about what it's about, but it just is like the blurb is so much happens. Bear with me. This is the way the world ends. Again, 3 terrible things happen in a single day. I also think I put this on my 2025 books to read in 2025, but I never picked up a physical copy, so I kind of forgot. We're going to prioritize it this year. Essen, a woman living an ordinary life in a small town, comes home to find her husband has brutally murdered their son and kidnapped their daughter. Meanwhile, mighty Sans, the world-spanning empire whose invasions have been civilization's bedrock for thousands of years, collapses as most of its citizens are murdered to serve a madman's vengeance. And worst of all, that's not even the worst, guys. Across the heart of the vast continent known as the Stillness, a great red rift has been torn in the heart of the earth, spewing ash enough to darken the sky for years or centuries. Now Essien must pursue the wreckage of her family through a deadly, dying land. See, that's what I mean. So much happens in one day. And then you've got like this incredible premise for this book. This also has a 4.29 star rating from over 300,000 ratings. So that's pretty good. I'm very intrigued by that one. Slightly nervous just because it's so big, but yeah, I do think that was on my last year's one, so I feel bad for not reading it. Next we have Belladonna. This is the first in, I think, a trilogy, a YA trilogy, and this one sounds really interesting to me because I know we're dealing a lot with poisons. I haven't read a fantasy book that delves into the side of like poisons for a long time, or like at least deep dives into it. It's kind of been there in the background. So I'm really looking forward to just diving into this. It is a gothic fantasy, so I think we'll have a very moody atmosphere. I'm planning to read this one in like autumn. This is another one that I have heard really interesting reviews on. A lot of people either love it, a lot of people either hate it. I'm hoping I'm going to be one of the ones who love it, just because I think it is a very particular type of writing. I don't think it's super fast or anything like that. I think I'm gonna like it. I mean, we're delving into like poisons and everything. That's really fun. Next is Sword of Kagan, I think you pronounce it. This is the same author who wrote Blood Over Brighthaven. I read Blood Over Brighthaven this year and it was a 5-star read for me, one that just left me staring at the wall for ages. I believe this is also based off the same historical event that the Poppy War is based off, so it's gonna be an intense year, guys, for fantasy. But this is a high fantasy. I think it is a standalone as well. On our podcast recently, we were collecting your favorite reads of the entire year, and this was a super popular answer. So many of you said this was your favorite read of the entire year. Blood Over Brighthaven is much more of a like academic fantasy, and this is much more of a high historical fantasy. So that really intrigues me. I want to go into this one a little bit blind. I have just heard incredible things about it. I just can't believe it was so many people's favorite read of the entire year. Like, that makes me have honestly quite high expectations for it. If you haven't read Blood Over Brighthaven, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I'm hoping that I will love this one as well, because I did really like this author's writing. Another new release I would love to get to is The Knave and the Moon. This is the second book to Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Rachel Gillig is one of my favorite authors. I loved the Shepherd King duology, and The Night and the Moth came out this year. It is basically a magic system that has been based off divination, and we are following our main protagonist, who is a diviner. I don't know how you would describe them, but they live in this kind of kingdom slash church situation, and one day this group of soldiers and knights appear at their castle, and then slowly, one by one, the diviners, I think there are, I want to say there's 9 of them, start to disappear. So it's got that sense of mystery in it as well, which I really loved. I just loved the atmosphere and mood of this world. Also, the way that Rachel Gillig can create such a unique, different magic system for every single one of her books is insane to me. So just the idea of creating a magic system off divination is stunning enough to me. The way she writes is so immersive, it's so atmospheric, you just get lost in her books. So I was so excited when I saw that this was going to be releasing next year, because I didn't know when we were going to get it. In the past year, I have started to branch out of my comfort zone and started to read some sci-fi books, which I didn't really think I would, and I have started to really enjoy them. Now, while this isn't super sci-fi, I think it like borders on it, and that is Dune. Now, I have watched the movies, so I do feel like a little bit of a traitor not reading the books before I go into the movies. I just feel like this is a book everyone needs to read in their life if you're a sci-fi slash fantasy lover. This is actually the original copy as well. It is so old, I'm gonna have to be so careful reading it. This one was published in 1965. I actually quite liked the movies more than I thought. I really liked the world. I really liked the setting of it. We are set in a world where spice that is kind of sits on the top of the sand in this desert is harvested and kind of is like a source of power for them. In this world as well, there is hardly any water. Like, the planet is a very dry, dark kind of place. In Dune, our main protagonist that we are following is the son of like this very powerful family. Obviously, I do know the plot, but I am really interested to see how it is described in this book, if it's similar to what they've created on screen, how similar the actual plot line is to the book, because obviously it's never going to be exactly the same. Apparently it's quite complicated though. I'm basing that off one TikTok I saw, by the way, that like ranked different types of fantasy levels, and this was like one of the highest complicated fantasy levels you could get to. So this book back in 65 was $7.95 Australian. Speaking of sci-fi, now this is actually sci-fi, I would love to read Recursion. Now, this has been pitched to me that if you love Inception, you will love Recursion, and Inception is one of my favorite movies I have ever watched. I love sci-fi movies. I just never started reading books. It's kind of a genre that scared me for a long time, and I feel like once I started reading it, I was like, oh, this isn't too scary. So I would love to read this one. So many of you have recommended that if I like Project Hail Mary and Will of the Many and stuff, that I will like Recursion. I just know that this is a really highly regarded sci-fi book. So delving into my sci-fi era more, I would love to go into this. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So if you know me, you might be going, Frey, you've already read Red Rising and you didn't really like it. Why is it on this list? You would be right. I just have been seeing every single person I know read this series and saying that it's one of the best trilogies they have ever read. So I'm like, did I read this right? Was I just not in the mood for it? This is a sci-fi as well. And I read this, I think 2 years ago, and I did enjoy it. It was a fine read. I think I rated it like a 3.5 stars. I just wasn't connected to it that much. I found it a little bit slow. It's not that it was like super confusing. I just didn't love it. I wasn't like really immersed in it. However, I know I always talk about Jamie, but Jamie did say that she didn't love the first book and has loved the second book. And then I saw Emmy reading it recently and has loved the series. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I've got to give this book another chance. I'm going to reread this one because I do not remember that much that happened apart from like the few key details. And then I'm going to go into the rest of the series. So look, this one's going to be a Freya. I feel like you read this when you were in the wrong mood. And maybe now that I've been inching my way into sci-fi genre more, I will like it. It was pitched to me as the Hunger Games but in space. I don't know that I would classify it as that. It felt very different to the Hunger Games. We do have this kind of whole academy setting. There's also like this hierarchy system. Maybe now that I loved Will of the Many, I'll love this one a little bit more, just enjoy it a little bit more. And then I'll go into the next two books and love them. Let's hope so. A bit of a genre shift, but the next books on this list, I've kind of clumped them as one, is like finishing the Beartown series. So I read Beartown last year and it was incredible. It hit really close to home, but it was crazy. And then I started Us Against You, which is the second book in the trilogy. And if I'm going to be completely honest, I got like 100 pages in and I was like, this is just a little bit too intense for me right now. And I was like, I never do this, but I think I need to put this book down for the moment and I need to pick it up at a different time when I'm going to be able to connect to it in hindsight. Like, I'm totally fine, by the way. It was just like a lot. It was just a very emotionally heavy book. And I do really want to read it. And I really want to read The Winners as well, which is the third book in the series. So I would love to finish that trilogy next year. I just think it's worth it. And again, everyone who's read it has loved it. I loved Beartown. It was so crazy, crazy emotional. Like, please look up trigger warnings before you go in, but I loved the way Frederick Backman wrote. Speaking of Frederick Backman, the next book on this list is My Friends. This book came out this year and I think it is a standalone, and when I tell you I have not seen a bad review on it, everyone who has read it has absolutely loved it. This is a contemporary fiction as well, I believe. It just emotionally destroys people in the best way possible, and I really like Frederick Backman's style of writing. Also, apparently this one is a little bit more humorous, like it has these kind of comedic relief moments, whereas Beartown is super heavy and just intense. So it'll be interesting getting a kind of different style as well once I finish the Beartown series. Next is The Diviners. Now, this is a really fun story. If you didn't see my book shopping vlog, basically this book was recommended to me by one of our podcast listeners because we did this video where we created our dream fantasy book, and my dream fantasy book was about a protagonist called Evie set in the 1920s. My one was set in Paris with a really unique magic system, a sense of mystery, or like a sense of betrayal. This book is about a main protagonist called Evie set in the 1920s but in New York. Like, when I heard that, that was just crazy, the fact that her name is the same. So obviously I ran to the store and picked this one up because also look at that fun cover. Looks so intriguing. This is a YA novel. It's a bit of a blurb, so I'm just going to summarize it, but we are following Evie as she is shipped off into the bustling streets of New York to live with her uncle, who is the curator of the Museum of American Folklore, Superstition, and the Occult, also known as the Museum of the Creepy Crawlies. When a rash of occult-based murders come to light, Evie and her uncle are right in the thick of it. Even Evie's new pals are drawn to the investigation. Through it all, Evie has a secret, the mysterious power that could help catch the killer if he doesn't catch her first. So it sounds really gripping, it sounds really fun, and we have this great sense of mystery as well, which is just something that I always love in my fantasy books. I have heard literally no one talk about this as well, so that always makes me a little bit more excited to go into it when I haven't heard anything about it. I'm really curious about this one, guys. The fact that it was like literally what I described is crazy. The next book is very outside my comfort zone, but that is what I'm trying to do this year, step outside my comfort zone a little bit. This is Strange Pictures. Now, I actually bought this for my partner because this is his kind of book, but then I got really curious about it. Now, I don't know too much about this book. This is what drew me in about it. A series of drawings made by a young woman before her death, a child's disturbing picture of his home, a desperate sketch made by a murdered victim in his final moments. Each contains a chilling warning. Each reveals a terrible secret hidden in plain sight. So you're basically trying to solve these mysteries as the reader. And there's all these like little graphics and stuff in here. It just seems really, really interesting. And this is apparently a really, really highly regarded book. Very outside my comfort zone, but I would love to expand my horizons a little bit this year. And I feel like this is a really great place to start because I love a good mystery book. I love a good thriller. Also, solving these murders along with the protagonist as the reader or something like that sounds really fascinating. I'll go over this one quickly because I feel like I've talked a lot about it throughout this year, but that is Lady of Darkness. This is just one fantasy book that has been on my TBR. It's actually the start of a series for a long time now, and I feel so bad that it's just sitting on my TBR and hasn't been read. And honestly, it's to a point where it's just ridiculous. Cannot describe why I've been so scared of this book. We are following three sisters. Scarlet is basically protecting her sisters whilst also trying to basically seek revenge on her parents. I need to read this. I really, really do. The next one is the names. Now, again, speaking of going outside my comfort zone, this is a general fiction or contemporary fiction, and we're basically set in 3 different alternate timelines. Well, all same timelines, but different possibilities of a scenario. So a woman has a child and she names her child 3 different names, and each timeline is like how their life turns out depending on what they were named. This was also nominated for Goodreads Choice Award. It just really intrigues me, and I feel like if I'm going to get into different genres, I need to push myself into really interesting premises that intrigue me, and this just sounds really interesting. I have heard that it's quite sad. Another one that was only added to my list today is The Academy. Now, I have never read an Ellen Hildebrand, I think her name is, book. I have kind of been very outside this fan base. I know that she has a really solid fan base and lots of people love her works, but for some reason I've never really been intrigued by them, or just have never really seen them like at the bookstore and like been gravitating towards that one. But The Academy is her newest release. I think she wrote it with her daughter as well. So obviously we have an academy setting, and I believe we have these really like toxic, complicated characters that we're following different staff, different students, and we've got this kind of sense of Gossip Girl about it. That just intrigued me, honestly. And I read the favorites this year and absolutely loved the favorites, because I don't know why, there's something about like toxic friendships and toxic settings that just draw me in and make me so angry, but like I'm addicted. I think we're up to 24. 24 is Shadow Reaper by Lynette Noni. Lynette Noni is one of my favorite authors. She is a YA fantasy author, and this is her newest release. I don't really know what Shadow Reaper is about, but it got announced recently, and that just made me really excited. I was like, I think I need to read this one. So I literally cannot tell you what it is about, but this is the cover. It looks really fun, and I trust Lynette Noni with my life. Speaking of authors I am beginning to trust with my life, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Now, the reason I haven't read this one, it came out this year, it is by V. Schwab. I believe it is like vampires, historical fantasy vibes. The reason I haven't read this one is because I'm trying to work through her backlog before I get to this one, and I just feel like there is so much more V. Schwab lore I need to know before I get into this one. Getting the V. Schwab lore before I do. The last final book for the 26 books I want to read in the year 2026 is The Book Thief. This is another one that has been really intimidating just because I know it deals with some really, really sensitive topics. And I'm kind of scared to go into this one, but I mean, it's classic. The fact that I haven't read this is kind of embarrassing to me. Like, I just think The Book Thief is a book everyone has to read. It's a historical fiction, if you didn't know. I haven't even seen the movie for The Book Thief, so I'd love to read The Book Thief and then go on to the movie. I was meant to read this year. I just don't think I'm going to get to it by the end of the year. I'm still working my way into historical fiction. I'm not a big historical fiction kind of girl, but I feel like with the right author and the right books and the right subject, and I do think I will find this very interesting. I read The Nightingale this year. That was a big step for me. Very sad. I'm stepping in the right direction, I think. And of course, this is one, again, that everyone says is like one of their favorite books of all time. But yeah, those are all the books I want to read in the new year. Let me know some of the books you would love to get to, or if we have some overlapping ones for the next year. I hope you guys are enjoying Bookmas. I'm going to keep this outro short and sweet because we've been chatting for a while, but I love you so much. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you have stayed till this long, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, and I will see you in my next video.